by a coalition of partners, including the Leading to Win Foundation, the Institute for Military and Veteran Families and Bunker Labs, the Texas Veterans Commission, and the Texas Veterans Network powered by Combined Arms. And, of course, our wonderful friends at Capital Factory and Station Austin, who very graciously host us here every month on the second Wednesday. So our community has been growing since last year, and we're slowly but surely getting back up to those regular numbers. I will tell you, though, we are pushing pause in March for South by. So, for everyone who is excited about second Wednesday, keeping up a regular battle rhythm, we are going to send you a list of all of the best events that we recommend you take advantage of as veteran, military-connected, and civilian entrepreneurs. We want you navigating all of the events and figuring out the best way to advance your small business, your startup, or your scale-up. So be on the lookout for that email. And these two gentlemen behind me are going to help with that, I know. So tonight I'm very excited to introduce my dear friend Brian Cook, who's going to lead us in conversation with Jay Miseli, both phenomenal leaders with great entrepreneurial backgrounds and experience, and they're going to share how their journey, not just in the military but in life, has brought them to where they are today, lessons learned, and what they're looking forward to as well. So y'all give it up for Brian and for Jay.
Hey y'all, so I'm going to lead off with just introducing Jay a little bit. And it's odd, right? So several of you in the room know me deeply, and I have a ton of friends. I have very few really deep friends. You know the story that goes that the 5 men you surround yourself will dictate the man you become. And Jay Miseli is one of those men in my 5 circle, and he knows it. He knows for a while. So first of all, I don't want to dig this up, but then second of all, I want to introduce you to a man who understands deeply both what it is to be a great leader and what it is to be a great leader in Austin, Texas. I think it's something unique. First of all, background's kind of unique, right? He obviously a West Point graduate, so we kind of share that. There's some unique things in his life, just not an armor officer. Goes back and teaches math at West Point. Yes, I do. Teaches math. Goes to Georgia Tech, right before there, gets his horse up. Any horses in the room? Okay, I'm married to one, so I know what happens as you can codify the entire world with that. MOEs and MOPs, it's very different. So I feel for Shar. But, and then, so you think that's enough, Jay just keeps leading. He commands Gary Owen, he does great things, goes up and commands the Striker Brigade in JBLM, and then he goes and makes Scotty Miller look better than he ever could be in Afghanistan. You know that story? As we pulled out of Afghanistan, this is the operations officer made happen. Yeah, he wrote the orders. Not the ones we executed. So, a little bit, and we'll get into that piece. You guys can ask those great questions of him. So that's the man, the myth, the legend, you get to the point where you arrive in Austin, Texas, and he's the XO to a great friend of mine, Scott McKean, and running features and concept stuff for, who's that now? Stephanie. And Stephanie Ahern. And so this is right when AFC is out of its cocoon and figuring out what it's going to be. We begin to really crystallize what we want to do to the institutions of the United States Army. When I was an early, very first chief of plans, we envisioned these things. But people were blocking us. Guys at Leavenworth were like, you want to come to the maneuver battle line? No, you're not welcome. Because you're Army teachers, and we're trade up. A little different now, as you guys know, I hope. Maybe we talk about that. So he's in this great transition point of the United States Army, and what happens when you're a thinker, a builder, a stoic like Jay Miseli is you take great notes and understand the opportunity you have to learn in the mess that you have got placed in. And another thing that I share is like, oh my God, what a great opportunity to keep your eyes open and share scar tissue with people at all times. Jay is also the husband of Charlene Miseli, a phenomenally charged and powerful veteran, just advocate and friend of the tribe, and then has two great kids, Nate and Amy. Amy's not in the force yet? Not yet. Almost. Amy goes to the force, graduates from West Point in May. Nate is a tank lieutenant? Oh.
Okay, so I'm like.
He's going up. So if you're an armor guy, he already like passed that whole first. But let me hand it off to Jay, because he has more insights than I can imagine. But we are in this journey called Red Thread X. I won't show any thunder there. When we get to the South by Southwest thing, we're here to help you solve that South by Southwest thing. Because it will be difficult this year. It'll be more difficult than it's ever been. And we've got our own house. We have our own app in development. And we're going to crush it. And we're here to be your friend about that. But let me introduce you to Jay Miseli. Give him a round of applause and let him tell his story.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity, Lauren. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the introduction, and now Joseph was part of the coordination as well. Really appreciate this opportunity to talk to y'all. So I'm going to very briefly go way back in time to 1989, because there's an illustrative point from 1989 that underscores the theme of the narrative I'd like to share with you this evening. And that theme is the power of inflection points. And there's a subtext to that. 1989, I had no idea how to understand, appreciate, or see inflection points. It's taken decades for me to be able to see I'm at an inflection point. I haven't been able to predict them, so I'm not like, oh yeah, 2 years from now I'm going to be at this inflection point, and I'm going to blank. But in 1989, I'll share a little backstory. Tim, I don't even think you know this, so this might be some new news for you. I graduated high school in 1989 in the San Francisco Bay Area. My dad was in the tech sector. I grew up out there, so I was very familiar with that tech environment and the investment cycles and things like that. And I had, and this is a deliberate word choice, I had a fantasy that I was going to play guitar professionally for the rest of my life. You know, I'm a guitar player. I've been playing since I was 12. Pretty good, you know, really good in my high school, for what that's worth. And so I moved from the Bay Area up to San Francisco, and I went to San Francisco State for, wound up going for 2 years. And in that first year, I sought to play guitar professionally. And I had a giant comeuppance because, has anyone ever heard of a small band called Metallica? Been around for a few years. Yeah, and this guy, Cliff Burton, that just died, and Kirk Hammett had just been hired as a guitar player to replace Dave Mustaine. They're a San Francisco band, you know. So I got to San Francisco. So I'm just, you know, this big fish in the Bay Area. I get to San Francisco, and holy crap, I am not going to be a viable. I love my parents. I respect them, all that stuff you're supposed to do, but I sure shit don't want to live with my parents. And I'm like, this is not going to work well. So I was like, wow, I had no plan B. Plan A was the plan. Go to San Francisco, start playing guitar professionally, and, you know, become rich and famous as a guitar player. So the end of my freshman year of college, I will say I had fewer than 1 credit hours that were transferable, but I really cut my chops pretty good. I ran into a guy in battle dress uniform on campus at San Francisco State, which is super rare because they didn't have ROTC there. It was kind of not necessarily the most military friendly city, campus, everything in between. He's wearing BDUs, and I asked him, what's he doing? And he's like, oh, I do ROTC. It's over at University of San Francisco. You ought to check it out. It's pretty cool. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. He goes, okay. Well, hey, you know, it's the end of semester. When we come back to school, here's this number. Call Sergeant Johnson, Sergeant First Class Johnson, old school infantry guy. Hot chow was his. Remember how old school NCOs always had an expression? His was hot chow. Hot chow. Everything was hot chow. You know, hot chow. I don't know if hot chow was good or bad, but that's just everything was hot chow. So he's like, call Sergeant Johnson, just link up, and he'll tell you about ROTC. So we come back after the summer. I hit Sergeant Johnson up, and he's like, hey, come on up and meet me. Hot chow. I'm like, go up and I meet him. And great guy. We kind of click. And he's like, all right, I'll tell you what, next week we're going to the field. Why don't you come with us? And I'm like, what's that mean? He goes, that's super easy. Just wear these boots, wear this uniform, and bring this rucksack and helmet, and we'll tell you what to do. And I'm like, okay. So he gives me a couple BDUs and some boots and a helmet, the rucksack. I take it home, and I'm like, you know, like before internet, I have no idea what I'm doing. There's no manual with it. So I come back the next week, and we go down to Fort Ord. We spend a weekend at Fort Ord, and it was the most brilliant recruiting thing in the world. They gave me an M60 machine gun and like a couple hundred blanks, and all I did was walk around with this M60 and like, we're going to tell you to lie somewhere and point the machine gun. And when we hit your helmet, shoot. I was like, well, this is pretty cool. So I go through this whole weekend, I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm like, this is the Army, cool, I'm in for this. So we come back from that FTX, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to do this ROTC thing, this sounds pretty cool. So I signed up, I didn't do a scholarship, I wasn't at that stage yet. And I start doing ROTC, and no kidding, one of the instructors is a West Point graduate, a guy named Captain John Katz. And he grabs me, and this is a really tight timeline. This is September or so of 1990. And he goes, hey, Jay, have you ever thought about West Point? I'm just kind of figuring out this Army thing. I have no idea what that is. So he describes what West Point is to me, says, I really think you ought to apply. And he said, there's no harm. So he wound up coaching me through the application process. I was the first person in 5 years in my congressional district to apply for West Point, so that kind of helped a little bit. So I had a bit of a competitive edge because they say location, location, location. You got aspirations to go to West Point. The area is not a bad place to jump off. And I got accepted. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I went there. But that inflection point, John Katz, Sergeant Johnson, that unnamed guy in BDUs who gave me Sergeant Johnson's phone number, is why I'm sitting here right now as a retired armored cavalry officer, someone who's now been part of the Austin ecosystem for a couple years. So I want to fast forward and go into micro scales. That's really the first macro inflection point in my life that I can anchor to and say, wow, I had no idea how this happened, but if it hadn't, wow, I don't know where I would be in life right now. So in December 21, I had a PCS down here in July. I was in Futures Command where I talked about the job I was doing. Two things happened in December 21. First is I read a article in the Austin Statesman, American Statesman, and they were describing the 12 newest unicorns in Austin. I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I started to dig into that a little bit, and I had this intuitive sense, and maybe this is dumb luck, but I had this intuitive sense that Austin in 2021 was an awful lot like the Bay Area was in the 80s, what I had grown up in. You know, there was the capital flowing in, that sense of optimism, the ideas, just that positive churn, virtuous cycle. So I'm like, huh, it feels similar. And here's some empirical evidence, here's some empirical evidence that there's clearly a growth trajectory. This is of interest. So at that point, I decided, it's great in time. I've had a great ride, got to do so much incredible stuff in the Army. It's time to go ahead and retire. I'm where I want to be. We want to be in Central Texas. I love Austin, and I'm seeing all this opportunity, and my assessment was coming out of Futures Command would be a good springboard in the industry and the sector. So I made that decision in December 21. And the same time, my classmate, Major General Steph Ahern, grabbed me and said, hey, Jay, you have just come from being a Corps G3 and from being a J3 in Afghanistan for the last 2 years. I'm responsible for wargaming on how Corps will fight in the 2040-ish time frame. I'm going to ask General McKean if it's okay with you, if you can support me with these war games and tie in on that. And I love that thing. I said, absolutely. If he's good with it, I'm good with it. It'd be a lot of fun. So all of a sudden, January 2022 started me on two parallel tracks. I'm committed to retiring. I gave myself a year. I wasn't going to rush into it and risk failing. I wanted to design it and be deliberate. And at the same time, I now have got this opportunity to jump in and support thinking about the future with this wargaming. And so I'm marching through, and I'm doing all the great programs out there like Commit Foundation, American Corporate Partnerships, a lot of good programs investing in me. I'm very thankful for that investment. One of my goals is to pay it forward, and that's why I want to thank so much for the opportunity to talk tonight, is I want to pay it forward for what I received in terms of investment. And middle of 22 or so, I'm wrapping up my time in uniform. I'm getting ready to start transition leave, and I made a very clear decision. My goal in retirement was I wanted to go to a small commercial tech company, stay in Austin. And I know tech is very broad, but I wanted a small commercial tech company. I wanted to jump into the commercial sector. I wanted to get into the tech industry and really try and cut my teeth there. And so I set that objective, and I started marching towards it. And I'm that person where if I have an objective, I'm going to move towards it and achieve it. So when I retired at the end of 2022, I jumped into a small commercial tech company, actually out in Dripping Springs. Really, really good experience. They hired me for strategy. And long story short there, my first assessment was the president of the company was leading a sales team, leading the sales team for the company, and also running a sales portfolio, and therefore wasn't paying attention to the downstream operations functions and everything else. So I wound up taking over a sales portfolio initially to take that burden off him, and then I wound up taking a sales team over my second year there. And that led me to a pretty clear conclusion. And they were great. They let me continue to war game. So as I retired, I went from blue team with General Ahern in uniform to red team as a contractor once a quarter, supporting that continued wargaming activity with General Ahern and FCC. And so the company was very generous, let me continue to support that. But I just really realized I had not achieved what I wanted in transition. So first inflection point, 21, second inflection point, end of 22. Okay, I jump in, I'm doing the wargaming. There's a purpose to that. There's a little bit more of a purposeful element to that. But my full-time work in the commercial sector didn't really drive a sense of purpose. We were revenue driven. There were some downstream operational factors that were a concern to me. So I remember very clearly the next true inflection point in this arc was in April of 2024. One of my favorite authors, James Clear, I get his weekly newsletter, and he had a very short blurb in his newsletter, and it said, there are at least 4 forms of wealth, and I think he got this out before Sahil Blue, but it's generally pretty much the same. He said there's at least 4 forms of wealth. Money, slash wealth, your position or status, your time, or your health or your well-being. And he had a little qualifier in there. He said, be wary of the requirements of the latter 2 or the first 2, because it'll be too late. And I thought that was very interesting. And at the same time, April 24, we formed Red Thread X. So my co-founder and I, my co-founder met Brian, the 3 of us said, hey, this is an opportunity to make order out of the chaos that is South by Southwest, or AUSA, or CES, or all these other. So we said, there's an opportunity here. We have something. Let's pursue it. So in April of 24, committed to building out the startup. I'm still working full-time for the company in Dripping Springs, and I'm still wargaming. So you can see there's a little bit of dilution of my time, right? But I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm doing a lot of cool stuff. I'm enjoying it. But that article was just nagging to me. And Brian knows, Tim knows, I am a nerd. I'm Tom Massey. I'm not going to get my nerd label. But I like to develop models for complex situations, to distill them, so I can communicate. First of all, I can understand them, and then I can help communicate those. So as I took that James Clear article, and I reflected on, here I am working full-time, doing sales and business development, a role I just didn't like. I know there's folks who like that. I did not, it was not me. In part because our company was really suffering in terms of schedule and quality. So I felt like I was lying to our partners. I thought we were supposed to bring you a solution, and instead I'm bringing you more problems. You're coming to us because you want something, and what we're giving you is, and the culture was, well, we'll just do program change requests as soon as we get the contract. So in essence, to be competitive, I almost had to misrepresent, I won't say lie, I had to misrepresent capabilities, cost and schedule to get the win, to then immediately start adjusting. So it also didn't align with my personal ethos. So all these things are weighing on me, and I finally distilled James Clear, Sahil Bloom, Designing Your Life, all these different things to a super simple model. So the inflection points is the first thing I'd like to share with you. Just seeing when those are occurring and taking the time to be reflective about what it may represent for you. Because my knucklehead itself had no idea what Captain Cat's saying. Listen here, young man, we're going to talk about this West Point thing, whether you want to or not. What that would mean for my life, or that decision to retire in December 21. So as I'm looking at this, I'm feeling this internal pressure about the stuff I'm doing. It's really dilutive, and I feel like I just pull on my ethos. I came up with a simple model, the second thing to share. A simple horizontal double-headed arrow. And the arrow is freedom. One side is time, the other side is money. And what I realized is, in essence, what we do is we make trades. I'm willing to give up time for money. I'm willing to give up money for time. You know, I don't want to work. I'm going to have a lot of time. I'll work 80-hour weeks. Maybe I won't generate money now, but I might be generating wealth with a startup or something like that. So I came up with a simple model just to help me assess the current state of my life and where I wanted to be. And once I came to that model, I realized I was out of balance. There was a lot of time going into things that I wasn't finding purposeful and I wasn't finding rewarding. So right about a year ago, February 25, I left the full-time job, and I wasn't going to do sales, I wasn't going to do business development. Things were getting worse in terms of operational effectiveness, and therefore that tugged at my ethos. I said, I'm going to go into the fractional world. So next inflection point, deliberate decision. Now the way I conceptualized it, I'm going to be generous, is I thought I was going far left on this scale. I was going to trade money, I'm not going to work full-time anymore, but I'm going to get a lot of time to myself, and I'm going to do really 3 things. I'm going to war game, I'm going to run the startup, and I'm going to just do fractional consulting for companies that were looking for the experience. And I thought I had some value to contribute based on what I was doing with wargaming experience and Futures Command and everything else. So I made that decision, thought I slid the scale over. And what I discovered was there was a couple of different tension points with that model. And I did not calibrate it right, so I got it wrong. I have to admit that. The first was startup land, right? There are no boundaries, right? If failure's not an option, you know, if you got to put in the time, you got to put in the time. So all of a sudden, what I thought was like I can just map this out in 20 hours per week for the startup, and just incrementally manage it, and it'll be fractional. Yeah, there ain't no fractional startup, right? I think we all know that. So that was the first mistake I made. Yeah, exactly. You can laugh at me. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know that, if you want to latch onto a startup, you're going to give up a lot of time, and you're not going to get money.
Break in there for
so,
a second.
yeah.
That was right there.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know that Red Thread X is my third startup. Actually, fourth if you count one brief. So, I mean, not that I was like letting you fail, but it was kind of fun.
No, it wasn't fun. No, it wasn't fun. But I'm very, very thankful for it. Yeah. Yeah, no, so I'm very thankful for it. So I've got, the understandable tension that I misestimated, and so I miscalibrated as a result of what a startup would entail. I have, I kept getting dragged into business development for small companies that had good commercial technology, wanted to break into defense, which is exactly what I had just left. So I'm like, damn it, I don't want to be doing business development for commercial technology. So I was like, okay. And what I discovered was that was also a little more difficult to bound than I thought it would be, because since I was getting paid hourly rates on the contracts, I was like, and I promise you, it does say honor on my ring here. I did not like watch Dune and charge hours or anything like that. But what I found was you can take another hour and read another article, right? And you can go, hey, in 20 hours, maybe I'll do 30 this week, Then you read it, you read a couple more articles, write some more papers and whatnot. And so all of a sudden I found, I've got the mission creep, if you would, the startup. I've got the mission creep of making up for the monetary shortfall from leaving the work, the professional or full-time work. And then the whole wargaming piece came crashing to a halt. And I actually hadn't wargamed since May, before last week, because things like the shutdown were disruptive, activating T2Com, then shutting down, all that stuff. So it was as we all probably know, business with federal government was a little wonky in 2025. So my assumptions that led to the decision to leave full-time work, that I'm going to calibrate. And there's a reason I've got this picture up here, because this picture is something I'm incredibly thankful for. This is July 31st, 2025. And I felt like I had all sorts of free time, because I was still going out and doing stuff I like to do. Ride my mountain bike, hike, fish, and stuff like that. And then this day was the most recent and perhaps one of the most profound inflection points for me. So that is, I'm at 9,900 feet elevation in Wyoming, in the Colorado Rockies on the Continental Divide. And one of my closest friends and I we were car camping across Wyoming and fly fishing every day. It was amazing. No cell phone service, which is awesome. I hadn't realized how nice it was to truly disconnect by simply not having service, although we both had the T-Mobile Starlink service for emergencies, which paid off. So I woke up a little bit at BMNT, a little bit before sunrise, and I looked out my window and I saw the sun just starting to peak up. And I was like, holy crap. It's a Thursday morning, July, here in the the Rockies in Wyoming. So I quickly climbed out of my sleeping bag, made some coffee, and I just sat in a chair and I watched the sunrise. Been about an hour. Probably bad for my eyes, but it's okay. And literally purple mountains. Like, you see, like, it's truly like what we think about when we think about the Great American Expanse. So that was the morning of Thursday, July 31st. That afternoon at about 2:30, I was wading in the Wind River outside of a town called Dubois, and I stepped in a 3-foot sinkhole and landed with full body weight on a rock at the bottom, and I completely tore my left quadricep tendon. Complete rupture all the way across. And so I balled up, and my leg was kind of floppy sitting there, and that's a moment. So I'm in the river. My friend is 500 yards away. He can't hear me yelling help or another 4-letter word. Please come assist me. Thank goodness we had this T-Mobile. I have T-Mobile, but thank goodness we had that, because I sent him a text. It took him about an hour to get it. And I'm sitting there, and my leg's just flopping. I figured out it wasn't broken, which is good. I guess soft tissue over hard tissue. And so I wound up having to crawl a couple hundred yards out. Met him at the river crossing. We got across. I got to the hospital. And 3 weeks later, I had surgery on it to repair. And I am incredibly, by the way, I would not wish this on anybody. Please, whatever you do your best to not rupture a quadricep tendon because it sucks. I think the recovery is just as bad as the injury itself. I would not wish it on anyone. But, please, hear me now, believe me later. Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. I am so thankful that that happened. I'm incredibly thankful. Because I was laid up for 3 weeks once I got back to Texas, until I got the surgery in August. Got the surgery, it was another 8 weeks before I could come off the crutches or bend my leg, just this. Well, thankfully we had new ottomans, I could just prop my ottoman up. A friend of ours let me borrow an ice machine, so I could just ice it. And that was the window of opportunity that we rarely get. I didn't really get it while I was fishing, because I wasn't truly disconnected, because I had this finite 5-day period to disconnect from the internet and fish. In those 11 weeks, I got to dig in and I got to reflect and I got to assess. And I made a critical decision a week or so after the surgery, off the drugs. So you know, all the pain meds are out. You know, this is awesome. We're gonna. I cleared the pain meds and everything else. I'd had that period to reflect before the surgery, and then a period afterwards where I tapered off the meds and all. And I decided that 2026 is going to be the year of the reboot. And that's a very deliberate word choice. Incredibly deliberate word choice. So I decided what? And I chose the year of the reboot because when you reboot a computer, every one of your apps closes, right? And you decide, unless you let the machine decide for you, you decide what apps open again after the reboot. And what I had become was this cluttered life, this fractional work where I kept getting dragged into these vortexes, not necessarily willingly, but my fault because I wasn't deliberately constraining it and setting those conditions. And so with this, I did that and I said 2026 is going to be the year of the reboot. I had no idea how. So first, stage one, I set the objective. 2026 is the year of the reboot. And the how has manifested in the intervening weeks. And I'm incredibly fortunate because Brian and I are figuring out how we're going to do a handoff of responsibilities around Red X because I've got a new opportunity I won't go into right now. It's going to start next week. That's going to open up a lot of doors for me and really is a concrete manifestation of the idea of I am going to reboot in 2026. And so I just would ask that as you consider the path that led you to us sitting here, and as you're looking at what you want to achieve in the next 10 and a half months of 2026, which is a lot of time, if you let it be a lot of time, or it's a little time, if you don't control that time and take advantage of it, just be purposeful about what you're going to do with that time and what you're going to let into your orbit and what you're going to jettison from your orbit. Because what I failed to do in 2025 would jettison that which was not productive for me personally, that was either physically or mentally or even psychologically burdensome. And as a result, I lived this cluttered life. I was carrying a lot of clutter that day. I had that moment of peace here, but there were still the startup wheels were turning, the next fractional deliverable wheels were turning, all that nonsense. That clutter was up, I shouldn't say nonsense, but all this stuff was in my mind. It was cluttering things. And this/that became the jump off point for the, wow, what a blessing in life to be able to blank the slate and start anew based on an inflection point that opened opportunities that I had to purposefully choose to identify and then pursue. So that's stuff I wanted to share with you. I really appreciate your time. And Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
You make it really easy to be a moderator. I don't know. I've been on South by Southwest moderating. I've been at USA. I've been at Global Course. Pick your techie, foundy thing. I've been in this seat, but I've never had somebody easy to moderate. So first of all, if you guys don't know, I'm an author. I wrote a book called Set Your Table last year. It's going to publish in May. It is a strategic framework to reclaim your life that I deep study on how I got to where I was by looking backwards at the tools I used. They were taught to me by my ancestors. driving complete change to the conversation about how to actually gather content and context at conferences and make connections that one thing that you should come for. And I love it because it has this really authentic feel to it, and that's actually why I stayed in Austin, Texas. I had a guy named Bob Metcalf, creator of The Land. Everybody knows Dr. Metcalf over at UC, Nobel laureate. Put his hand in my hand and walked me around a block on 6th Street and go, Brian, how can I help you when you get out on the beach? I was like, there's a place in America that still has that feeling. So I think it's super, super positive. I want to thank Jay, and we're going to turn into questions for a second, but I wanted to go on to one other point, and that is, I use the term force multiplier in one of the chapters in my book. And we have this weird force multiplier thing in the Army, right? Like the artillery supporting tanks, intel supporting tankers. Anyway, it's something that helps you do better than what you are. What I go to in the book is I use it as a way for you to cause ripples in your life, because your example and your effort gives permission to other people to do the same. And I actually think it's really missing in America. And I don't give a crap what political spectrum you're on. I think it's really missing in America that we have the permission to create good and great change. Period, full stop. We're freaking Americans. And Jay, what Jay just did for you, and Jay has done for me personally, is just a force multiplier. And so, I mean, I'm not going to be like, oh, there was. You should be like Jay, but be like Mike. Yeah, look, I mean, it's not super hard. Like, Jay makes it look really simple, but we work hard to find that place where we can be authentic to this community, this region, and actually, hopefully, this nation gets better. And so, if you're in for that, we're in for that. We'll always be in for that. We're going to have, I have the codes for Red Thread X. I'm going to turn out questions. Anybody got questions for Jay, or questions for me, or questions for Lauren? She'll be walking around and help me.
Do not ask me questions. No, I'm just kidding. Love this. And Jay, I think we need a reboot retreat. Let's figure that out post South by.
Right.
So, does anyone have questions for Jay and for Lauren? I heard a lot of nods. Can you hear nods?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I noticed a lot of nods. I heard a lot of, positive affirmations in the crowd. So I'd say, in addition to questions, there might be things that came up for you as Jay was sharing his story that resonated with your journey through transition, your journey in the private sector, and maybe things that you're struggling with right now. So it might be questions, or it might be reflections that you'd like to share with the audience as well, because that's part of the gift of being in a room that's intimate and vulnerable, where you are with your brothers and your sisters. So questions or reflections? Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Shani Haynes. Oh, do I need to stand?
No.
So, my name is Shani Haynes. So I was invited here by Eric after my first Lead to Win event. So he's doing his job marketing. And I've met so many other great people such as Chris and LaMonica, just in my journey with coming to these types of events and working VA. But the reflection we were talking about, I guess I call it a reset, you call it a reboot, but they have the same meaning. Coming out of the military, you kind of don't know what your purpose is, some of us, not all of us, but sometimes you get lost. You're on your meds, you're trying to find your place in the world. And when you do find that, it's actually a good, refreshing feeling. But sometimes you have to go down this road that's not very fun to find it. Just my personal story from hospitalization, surgery, things with my adult children. Yeah, so just those things, and then I had my reset probably about 2 years ago. I had surgery, and I had to sit my ass down.
Yes,
we call it SYAD, have all this time to reflect. And those people that are really busy and also always active, we don't want to do that, but sometimes you need that. And I'm glad that I had that moment, so I resonated with that. And I thank you for sharing your vulnerability with us, because I know it's a lot to say that I had to sit down and I was injured. I had to ask for help. And a lot of times that's hard for us to do too as military people, because we're not taught that, you know. So I appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you know your purpose, or did it find you?
I've always known my purpose. I'm kind of a unicorn, but being back to something he said, or you said, being around people that don't value your purpose can weigh you down to where you forget who you are. Because I went, not only with the injury, I got depressed. So I was battling that, my anxiety, PTSD. I wasn't able to be creative. I wasn't able to be in spaces where I could be myself. I felt guarded. All these things came up, and I wasn't, I just wasn't feeling like myself. So I had to, again, reset. So when the surgery happened and I kind of figured out like what I wanted, I had to remember what my purpose was. I've always been told, I always know what it is to pass on my wisdom. And I try to do that every day in any encounter that I have, in whatever capacity, if that's through events, if that's through volunteering or whatever, you know, it just spews out, I guess. But
Yeah.
yep.
Appreciate it. Clutter is costly.
Okay, other questions or reflections? Someone had their hand up. There we go, Dan.
Hi, Dan Rachowski, West Point class of 16, so young buck here. Still.
You can tell by the shoulders and the bicep.
I like to play a fun game, let people guess my position on the football team. We can play that later. Jay, you mentioned this idea of a reboot, and I'm extremely fascinated by that. I think, you know, a lot of service members, as I actually put the imagery, so artillerymen, so I'd always think about being on the field and it's hot at Fort Hood, it's 100 degrees, you're sweating, you're not really sure if you passed out or you fell asleep. And when you come to, you think about, oh man, the life outside the military, the grass is greener. And I think a lot of us transitioning veterans learn that it's not greener, it's just different shape, different type. And so you mentioned this idea of a reset, and I love that, because I think sometimes we try to find that, and then we look at some of these crucibles and these failures that happen in that transition, and we're not sure when that's going to happen. And so you have this reboot. And the question I had to is, as you introduce apps back into the operating system, what is that vision or that mindset that you've casted for yourself that says, you know, hey, looking at the mountains, like when I stand up on the peak of the mountain again and I look out and I watch that sunset, what is the guidance that you've kind of given yourself to achieve that?
Oh, I like it. That is a great question. So from a top-line ideology first, one of the mistakes I made was, and I greatly both realize and appreciate this now, our transition as veterans is a forever process. So, you know that old adage of the same person never crosses the same river twice? Guess what? You now, you in a year, you in 5 years. So I'm not the same guy that retired December 2022 and went into that first set of roles as I am now. And I'm thankful for that. So, you know, at first I thought, you know, I'm being a bit of a West Point tool. I was like, oh, it's going to be phase one. It's going to be 6 months of duration. At the end of phase one, I will be settled in my first full-time employment. You know, and I was like, oh shit, there is no phase one. Like, it's just like, boom. So I'm actually in the process. One of the things I've done is I've actually exited the wargaming piece as well. The new opportunity I've got, so that sliding scale model of freedom, I'm actually going back towards the middle. I've recalibrated the scale. The scale was wrong. I already described that. So I've recalibrated the scale, and I'm going to full-time work starting next week. Very purposeful work. I'm really excited about it. It will align me a little bit more where I'd like to be income-wise. I'll admit that. But it also has a clear sense of purpose. And I actually realized as part of this journey that I needed the structure. I wanted a 9 to 5-ish gig, and it'll be more than that. It'll be a lot of travel stuff, but it'll be pretty rewarding. And they'll all be on LinkedIn on Monday. I just can't get ahead of the company. But I think I won the lottery with this one. It's purposeful. meeting all of my, that freedom scale, a lot of time off, a lot of travel to places I want to go. And so the first thing I did was I recalibrated that sliding scale. Said, okay, where do I want to be? And my wife was a great conduit of feedback. And she said, yeah, you kind of suck with this unstructured fractional lifestyle thing. Except for she didn't say kind of. She was a little bit more emphatic on that one. And she's right. I suck at, because I kept, like I talked about, I kept getting drawn into it. So recalibrate the scale. I'd rather have more structured time, 8 to 5, and then the freedom of the time after. So I thought I was getting this macro time. I'm going to have a month to go overlanding in the Rockies. So I didn't have time to overland in the Rockies. And wedge my leg against the firewall and drive back. But so I'm willing to trade macro time for micro time. This is the first step. So I'd rather go home at the end of the day, 5-ish, and like, you know what, I'm done. Part of the reason Brian's going to have increased responsibilities, what we're doing to Red Thread X. I have to eventually exit from it here in the next couple months. We'll get to South by Southwest. We'll deliver our product there, but then company's requirement that I exit, which is fine because I think it's in a good spot. We're on a good trajectory, and he and I have been in this square one with my co-founder, so I'll get to hand that off. That'll buy me a little bit more of that micro time that I'm looking for, and then I can also anchor in on the purpose of this particular role as well. So the two ideas I'd like to emphasize is one, transitions forever process. I already said that. And then two, give yourself forgiveness for being wrong with steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the process. Because you may be right with 1, 2, and 3, and then wrong with 4. You don't know. If you give yourself the time to be reflective and the forgiveness to admit that, hey, maybe I got this one wrong and I need to pivot, I think you'll be a lot better off than if you just stay the course and just continue to do something that you're not finding rewarding for whatever reason, the time, status, or whatever other value you're seeking to extract from that experience.
Okay, I'm just going to add on, because it's so easy to add on from Jay Miseli. First, and I write about this in my book, but your characters are your essence. Your values are your essence. So if you can find your values and play to your strengths, which they're immutable, you'll find an immense amount of value in what you're doing. My number one value is persistence. So if you can make me do something that I value, you'll have me forever. But there's a great space on the internet called VIA character, and they're doing a longitudinal study of how to determine your values. They take the 42 values that are, cognified by the cognitive scientists of the world. One of them would be my wife. These are the 42, and I'll tell you, your top 5. And I think it's something we miss in all the things that we do in the military and elsewhere, is we don't find out what our values are, not our strengths. You'll find your values, and some of those things aren't strengths. And then the other part, and he hit it really well, right, is you get to fail. The other part is have somebody to tell when you fail. Failures don't count if you don't share them. Just a rule. Brian, but it don't count. And so when I was at Army Futures Command, I was chief of plans. There's a guy named Jay Gallivan who was the chief of staff. And he was my failure accountability partner, my FAP. And I was like, I had a plans meeting right over there. There's supposed to be like 30 people in it. Because I'm the chief of plans. I'm a O6, right? I'm a baller. I mean, at Army Futures Command, come on, give me a ball. There were like, I don't know, 72 colonels right there. It was dumb. But anyway, so I come in town from Army Futures Command. I'm not even part of the crew here. I'm like I'm an outsider coming in. I'm gonna, people showing up. Two people showed up in that room, and we had a great conversation. But I was disappointed, pissed, whatever. But I literally typed an email to Jay and I said, "Hey Jay, I failed today. We failed today. We'll get more tomorrow. Please help." Because I can't do this with 3 people. But, it's like, I think those are 2 big points I would add on to the ways you got them.
Failure accountability partner. Who here in this room has someone they would consider their FAP? Those are tough conversations.
Habits, all day long.
Okay, let's close it out, and then I do want to give Jay and Brian a chance to tell you a little bit about South by.
Oh, yeah.
And invite you to their big party. So closing thoughts, questions, reflections.
Dean.
Okay, I'm gonna pass it back, boys.
I didn't get it. I'm gonna stand up with my back. It's only because my back's going. Not because I want to be taller or greater than you. South by Southwest is a problem. There's two problems wrapped into this for Brian Cook. The first problem is there's too much. There's too much of everything in Austin at South by. Very full stop. There's too many people who ride around on scooters. There's too many people with earrings, nose rings, smoking pot. I mean, it's just, and as a result, you've got the entire Army crew over here at T2Com now, used to be AFC. Scared. I was in the room when the first time was suggested by the stupid planner that we should have a major presence at South by Southwest as an Army. And literally the general in the office, I think somebody might know him, said, "You're crazy. I'm not hanging out with those loopy people out there in Austin. We're not doing that." Maybe we'll ask people to stay home because traffic's a problem. Now, this community treasures this. There probably is a very deep-seated Austin reason, right? That goes back to Willie or Matthew McConaughey or something. But they love this thing called South by Southwest. And so, look, if somebody that you hang out with loves something, you got to figure out how to be there. So what we did when we first started this thing is we think you come to a conference for three reasons: connection, context, and content. And we set out with an algorithm to figure out what you want to see and what you want to do. And so you get an agenda and a map each day and a way to communicate with people. The three things we need to be good to grab that content and context and context and context and content. And hopefully the connection will come. I want you to forget about the context and the content. I have got it. Okay? I will record 98% of South by Southwest and give you a report to go home with if you want it. And we will deliver to all clients a report in 5 days from Index at South by that delivers exactly what they said and what is important. Look, these are two kernels. I'm not screwing around. This is how we have built our business. We will deliver the goods there. As a trade, you get to be phenomenal connection experts and be in the places and spaces you never dreamed of. And by the way, we'll facilitate some of that. 35 of our members went to the top secret lounge with here at Capitol Factory Now Station Austin. The CIO of the CIA was there. The CTO of Palantir was there. The COO of Andrew was there. I had gin with all those dudes. Because I love gin. Not so much that. That's what we're out for. So that magic moment. In addition to what Jay and our co-founder Barry have done, is we put a place, this is the fourth C, the cohort. It's not that you have to have a space, but what we need to create is a selection of people that have the open mind and the energy to craft new solutions to old problems. And it's been here in Austin forever. Talked to Craig Cummins, talked to Josh Baer, talked to Joseph Cox. This has been an awesome, beauty of a skill set. We can create some great solutions in Austin, Texas. But our problem is we get so diversified in this thing called South by. You're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And we created this house, and this beautiful dude grabbed a piece of turf, a Line Hotel, right across the street from Baton Rouge, the place where Matthew McConaughey literally stayed while he was dazed and confused. That's a great, great spot. It is a South by venue, so if you have a badge like I will, you can come from Red Thread X House, walk across the hallway into a South by Southwest venue and hear things like high-powered computing, modern 21st century AI used for healthcare, quantum computing. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, right? And so that's what we're trying out for, is get that great space. But what we need in our space, it's not butts and seats, which our other co-founder likes to say, I need butts and seats. No, I need brains and seats. I need people come with an open mind to crush it and go, oh, you're here for South by? Let me tell you what I do. And later. So that's the Red Thread X. Now, this is my 4th year coordinating for South by Southwest as an AUSA VP of Programs. Let's step over here. That's this guy. It's the same guy that works with Jay, but this guy. 4 years now I've been doing an icebreaker. We normally do it on a rooftop over at Texas Association of Business. Great place. Great friends, Drew Shepperly and General Retired Tony Kukla. We're shifting this year to be closer to the fray because we have no convention center and I need to be closer to ground zero as I can. We're right down the street at Q Branch. Marcus Cervantes' place. We have 7 members on or 7 groups on the team right now. But on the night of the 11th, when you're just trying to get settled and you're figuring out what boots you're going to wear for Thursday, come out to Q Branch. And I'm not going to say all the cool kids will be there, but all the cool kids will be there. Right? I mean, at the moment, there are 7 general officers signed up to be at Q Branch.
More importantly, I will be there and I will.
No, Lauren will be there, and Joseph will be there, Jay will be there. But this is what we're out for. Again, what happens in South by, as a matter of fact, one of my good friends, Mike Arlington, doesn't come because he hates it because he can't find anybody. I'm like, Jay, I mean, it's just, you just have to find it, right? Find your people. So come find your people at Q Branch. If you need either one of those codes, you can text me directly or get my information, or she'll put it in the email. And that's it. Jay, you want to add on? I'm sure I forgot something.
No, you covered it. I'd just like to say the way I personally think about it is we seek to make order out of the chaos. And South by Southwest, there's no adjective. It's not beautiful chaos. It's not wonderful. It's just chaos. And then because we want to find the signal on the And if you check our website, I mean, there's examples of our reports and things like AUSA or the Consumer Electronics Show on there, where you can see how we capture those insights, distill them, and bring them back out. And our goal, one of our goals, is to make sure that you don't have to write that trip report afterwards. So you go back around and say, hey, boss, look at what we learned. And the reality is, it's what we collectively learned, and not what you individually saw.
Total out, 10 pages?
I think it's 10, 15. Yeah. So we're seeking to be brief with it too, but no, and thanks so much. I appreciate just all of this. So.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Guys, let's give them a big hand.
Digital card. Everything. Yeah, I don't think so. I have them. I'm doing this. I think it's John right? Mine is yeah. He was talking about work that it's not just why we like can't do all that. You are good to see a place where you can You can drop my name.
Yeah, I can probably get to the first floor. Okay. How are you? Have we met before?
But if you're going to measure me,
schedule. Yeah. No, they didn't. Yeah. So we absolutely solid. I see this finish. In fact, I had a basic contract. Awful. Yeah, exactly. So as I transitioned and I took over that sales I read a book called Sales Guys, which was really basic premise. If you're selling
He was on my family. He walks in and like, yeah. also just because I just got the computer as my work because of the your partner, most of your contract, I need free activity. I get me in there. I'm not working for a great one. Cool. What else? Anyways. So, actually, I got it in 54 and 60. But what I heard from you is that I know what's the guy. And I know what he's like. He's still there. I think he's part of it. I think that's how it's doing this. I don't know. I'm just normally up at that time. I don't have a card yet, but I will try to. How was that? Oh, I know exactly what that was. Yeah, please do. Yeah, no, I'm incredibly happy. Yeah, no, this was like when you walk them, just too complicated to say.
Yeah, at scale. So if you can do that for 25,000, all right, you can solve all the math problems ever. You want to move the information, and if it wants to be on that computer, but if you want to move it to say Unix, you got to fight it.
That's the.
I don't like it because the amount of compute is not going to
more often
that's true. Then do I do that?
well, that's what I was saying.
I don't. Well, not at least according to the science. Not at the initial. Maybe as we figure things out, like the first decade. I asked one person, the youngest member of the quantum. I moderated the panel. She got her quantum physics. She just had her first day. Anyway, I said Olivia. She goes, okay, so you feel fake, right? Do you acknowledge that your universe I have died 4 times. I absolutely know the Lord. And she goes, you feel it when you're in church and you're back connected with him or it, whatever that is. Like that feeling. Yeah. These are my personal. And that is an algorithm. What that is. Yeah. Figure out what it is. We're starting out here to generate our vice versa. At that point, you understand faith. And I like
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
scary. Because what if you can pull like a book and like your aura score, right? Or your mood score. You go to faith score. I wear a ring. I got a 74 image. But like you could do a thing, you could measure it, so then why do we need to if I got a phone?
Okay, but
You're gonna be like, I know better than you. Well, fuck you. I know better than you. I got a quantum computer on my side. Yeah. I built the email today. I just ran out of time. You know, life as it is. Yeah. The Matrix. Are we in the Matrix or did we create the Matrix?
there's that different entity, yeah.
I'm married to college scientist. Like your mind is your mind. Your mind is your mind. Your brain is your brain. It's already figuring everything out for you. It's only giving you a solution. No, your brain executes the code. Your mind is absorbing all of the matrix. Yeah, and your brain is the executes the game. It's like, even your brain is on fire, whichever it's on fire. Like it's like, I know what I'm doing with my mind. Wake up.
set your table, .substack. I'm out of pre-sales. Make sure pre-sales and sales. Sale in May. But you can go, so I'm a kid, kid.com, so you put set your table in front of kid.com, and you can get my, you also get out pre-sales, page, and you can sign up. Yeah, and then the other one is same way, but Substack.
Sounds like everybody's
Wherever you are, I really want to. So, allows you to make either. I was like, fine. I was like, book on that. I was like, I was going to take it. But now everybody was trying to take it. Make a statement about what I've read you read a book and then go read it. Yeah. And then go back and go. So what I do is, for me personally, I retire because there's so much so why do I
So this is 10 minutes before your portion. Are you there yet?
It's not a.
I would like for us to do it as a guy calling a fucking phone. I want to add
To you.
I think after this meeting, I will have
You have to feed it what it's going to be. Right? You have to tell it. Do this. Like any product in car, there's an AI. I'm a retired 33-year colonel with expertise in combination of life and food. All I hear is
less. And I was thinking about that, like, it's taking a lot of work.
But there will be a time, right? There's going to be a time where some people already do it.
You're not allowed to leave without a certain plan. The three of us keep talking. Okay. This is how it is. Right. Okay. I've got a bunch of like.
It was an interesting day. I got my flu shot, I got my COVID shot, I got a hamburger, I got my PTSD. How you doing? I'm doing awesome, man. Oh, good. You're not allowed to leave until we talk. I'm sorry we didn't have more people.
I'm like, I am working about
I want this to be 100 people. Yeah. I chose out on the road. You get the coach. I'm glad that I know.
I've been, it's been kind of tight at
Yeah, I don't go to a lot of stuff. I go to this and I executive summary. Executive summary. It's funny how they express myself. And when I ask, I keep giving me 3 more questions. It's a beer, it's the order, so I go. Yeah, they had the I own a BB, I own a Tesla.
Is you one of us too?
Yeah.
No shit.
Where does this chair go? Okay. All right. You are welcome, ma'am. Oh, well, thank you.
I'm gonna go get a drink before I fucking chill.
Yeah? You wanna go with us to Blindside? What's that? It's right around the corner. It's a lounge, it's a bar. But it's cool inside. It has aesthetic like art. So this is where we have the VIP.
I understand what's happening now, and like I brought back a lot of information because the first few times I got there, I know something happened. I know it's something, but I don't remember.
I'm inviting you somewhere that is definitely some benefit, man. There's definitely some benefit.
Monica, you on a call? What was your name again?
I know what happened on the other side. Marina the Marine, right? It happened on the other side when I read.
Dude, so check it out. I had to no shit. His name is Staff Sergeant. Yeah.
But did it make a step further or no? Did it make a step further?
Yeah, he did. He was a Staff Sergeant. Yeah, with an S.
Yes, I'll be over there in a second.
She's coming, so bring her to the We're going around the corner to Blindside.
That's awesome. Yeah, by the way,
I love that you're in it. There's our whole thing is we gotta somehow find the middle ground that people can. My wife keeps you going.
Oh no, we gotta make
Ketamine is a really nice program. Very safe, fully dissociative, with the right dose.
You know, my girlfriend's a cop. She's watching her die right there. It's like, what? Like there was one time she's like, you're asking for an impossible.
Okay, this is a true story. True story.
She's looking at
I don't think I told you this story.
his head blew up.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
No. So
Standing
check
in
it
the
out.
kitchen.
Yeah.
So when people are dying of overdose, what are you doing? You just slump over the fucking wall. Stand your eyes open. It's fine. It's fine. Like,
But that's, I mean, that's the other thing, you have connection. I mean, I think that's like, every time that I've gone over a ledge, I've always had a connection. The nurse was
They know each other.
I think you're right. Anyway, so there's this whole story.
So he basically
I
gifted me
pick up my
6 sessions.
I go to my
And
first
so I
time.
walked in, open eyed, and I was like, fuck up with it. I mean, I was like, that first time that, oh my god, what the fuck am I gonna do? And this guy is like, what can I do? What do you do in the army?
You know, and how that goes. Well, he goes, he says,
So we started talking about taking and things and boys and, people dying and just stupid things like, I don't know, fucking MREs. Just put on totally at ease. And he fucking puts the ketamine into me with, the front page.
Oh no, we can check it. He's a brain.
That's
So,
like,
yeah, he's gonna be a.
Ask her for the, but like I like about IV is they can kind of give you the, they can give you the dragon dose on the front side. It's a concentrated dose of ketamine that takes you very quickly to dissociation. Because most people ingest, as they ingest in their blood system, it takes them it takes them about a 8 to 10 minute standard to get to a place where they're pulling enough G's to be apart. The dragon dose was like, they killed 3 of my friends. All Friday night. They all pay our money, and it's in freaking bears.
I would have to come up now.
Yeah, oh, you're neuroplastic, right? I fucking swear by it. My wife gave it. She's like, you're thinking way too deep. And I'm like,
You split $1,000.
a cognitive scientist told me one day, I was thinking too deeply, like, what is that? I was like, thinking deep. I don't know what that means. I love you, but maybe that's because I might be smarter than you.
That's good. That's good.
About that?
That's good.
Like that,
a lot of the systems that we run this, service.
no, man, I love it. And you're a jerk. And that's super powerful.
Well, and it's funny because I started Sentinel when I was 14. I might have lied on my condition, maybe work a little bit, but
I did. I
Well,
studied California,
yeah.
LSD, and a lot of recreational drugs, MDMA.
You?
Okay, I'm stopping. I'm
It had to be done.
And then like, it's like 2 weeks in, and they're like, did you ever take any drugs? And I think in the other countries, they're gonna kick me out if I don't tell the truth that I lived it. They had me over at the Animal Science and stuff, like, what did you do, how much? Like, we play water polo. We go to water polo, and I was at the water polo team. We go to water polo.
And so they just
Fucking play.
have like everybody sitting down.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's a tendency to be
Heck yeah.
Brian Cook, hey,
Yeah.
everything's funny.
everything's good, and everything's smooth. Holy shit,
And I really I'm sending people. If not, at least I'll be there, okay?
hard to get there or anything.
Sounds good,
It's just
buddy.
yeah, I've done 2 months, which was the reason why I didn't make it to the last one.
Dude, oh yeah, that's right, 'cause you make fire.
Last month, yeah. So like my girlfriend, my daughter told me, look out. Definitely want to. Hopefully I'm there. It's a big deal for her, man. Like they only have one shot. Yeah, man. So I talked to him. It's massive. Midday. It's not in a good place by the end of the day. I was like, I'm not gonna help this piece. I got it out. It needed to. Yeah, this weekend she's finished.
Oh, you did the scene on purpose.
You know, she was
I love that.
The line?
You gotta date it. Where's the date?
You gotta sign and date it, woman. You gotta sign and date that, man.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I needed that.
No,
That's
friend
right.
told me like, it was so fucking hard to do that. You having a kid slowed you down. Will probably save your life.
I have in my possession.
I'm head outside this week.
Exclusive.
Yeah, I still got my drive back up, so I'm like, oh yeah. No, I know where my drive.
Oh yeah, I gotta have.
I know something in my
Yeah.
What? For like investing? Oh, okay. You got a cool stack and all that?
Guess what? Nate? I bet you will.
Let me know.
Yeah, what, guess, literally I'm gonna be part of his alpha now. That's hilarious.
I swore I'd never again, and then I moved to Texas, and here I am all over again. You got it.
Hey, brother. Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
What
I haven't been further than this south yet, so.
I know, it's like I'm trying to get him out.
But you're in Lago.
He's a lot harder than that.
Yeah, man, it's a bit of a trek, but if I come down, it is. It is. 10 minutes, but still, yeah, come down and do at least an overnight, you know. Red Dog works for you, so. Cool. I'm trying to get some more vendors out there. Plant-based. So I got the Chris. I wanted to chat with you about that. Yeah. Your business and what you used to do. Definitely, yeah. We need a vendor, and if you want to just come out and pitch what you have, or I can, let me make some calls. This is slow roll. I guess where sure left. Oh, I mean, so I'm just trying to, we're putting it out there, we're not really looking for them, we're just, seeing what, because we haven't, I tried offering yet, but I'm trying to get Soul System Podcast to come out and do their podcast.
I'm about to go lunch.
And that's what I wanted to plug you in.
We'll go to the bar right
Down the street, the bar. If anything, just have them do the podcast.
You know what? I gotta work tomorrow.
So do I.
You know you coming?
And then we'll have dinners and,
Definitely.
yeah, this may be more of a family kind of center.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm coming, man. Coming. All right.
Oh, Chris is coming too?
Blindside?
What?
Yeah, it's all blindside now.
You won't hear it.
Maybe I'll text you when I get there.
Okay.
Yeah, be present. Yeah, I'm Brian. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm in the middle. I just submitted chapter 12 out of 17 copyright. Yeah. Oh my God, it was fun. I have an entire team. I was paid to write my book by a guy named Eric Kaiser out in Georgetown University. And so I have a team that does my revisions, I have a team that does copywriting. So I have a stand part. That's the chapter a week, every week. Yeah, and I do this, and I do this, and I do that. And then, it's just, and then what's weird is you get this cohort of, there's a cohort of authors who we also heard each other. Like I go find blue skies, like in addition to LinkedIn, I'll just grab somebody, you know, I read their intro or one of their chapters and go, I love what, Ricky's doing, and she's, killing it, and introduce the book to my 5,000 members on LinkedIn and blue skies. And I'll just send it to 2 or 3 or 4. So it's really nice. And I didn't know the power of this whole thing. I had no idea. I just said yes. I'll do this for 6 months. Save a little money, and but I pay his people. So like branding. Your first step is to brand yourself. Figure out what your brand is, who your audience is, and how you're going to format your post so you can answer that. And that's not easy. That's a month and a half. It's $2,500. Now you can bite in it, or you can pay the whole thing end to end, all the way to the backside of the paperback for $9,000. And of course, I had the money from Eric, so I just let's go all the way. And then because I did so well with my pre-sales, I did 1.75. So 175% sales.
I love it, Lord. I love it.
1 month.
And I did,
My Audible book for free.
Here, we're all gonna walk.
yes.
So
Come on, come on.
I'll finish
I
my,
have a little
I'll
time
finish
with
my paperback
before
and
coming
then
here.
I'll read my
Okay, good.
Audible
And
book.
he's tracking.
And then I'm going to book tour.
Unequivocally.
Yeah.
Yeah, four different places.
money. I don't give a fuck. Everyone says they got money to give. Ain't no one. Everyone's broke. No, you know that's funny. You know. I'm like that old grandpa. It's like I don't give a fuck. Right. Don't tell me your name. Don't tell me your company. Yeah. You gonna be out weed or not? Right. Oh shit. That's it.